Welcome. Welcome, Kyra, and welcome to Ambitious Millennial Women, where we're having conversations with high achieving, ambitious millennial women on how they're creating lives and careers on their own terms, making bold choices, unconventional decisions, intentional shifts to really create a life that aligns with who they are and the future they want to create. And there's no better introduction and way to tee up this conversation with Kyra because Kyra has done exactly that, made a lot of bold choices and very intentional shifts to create a life on her own terms. Kyra is a strategy and customer success leader in fintech today, and also a very proud member of Boulder, Colorado's Park and Recreation. Welcome, Kyra.
Hi. Oh my gosh, it's so great to talk to you.
Yeah. And the fun fact is, which we're just going to get out of the way, Karen and I have known each other since 2014 when we were both baby consultants. My very first summer internship in consulting, Kira was my consulting guru or guide, teaching me how to use PowerPoint and how to format things
It's
correctly.
wild. That feels so long ago.
A entirely different life,
Yeah.
which, yeah, and we were both entirely different people. So, here we're gonna get into your whole journey, but start us off with just a little bit of a high level overview of where you've been. So, give us the not suitable for LinkedIn version of your career highlights, and then we'll dig in.
I know. I'll try to give you a little bit more of the real version. So I started off, I did my undergrad at Columbia University. And what's a little bit unusual about that is they bring firms to campus to do recruiting when you're a senior in college. So I had Booz and Company come to campus and I interviewed with them. So my first job was in management consulting. So usually you don't have a fresh undergrad who's joining a major consulting firm, but that was my path. And it was really amazing in so many ways. You just build this consulting toolkit, like strategy, operations, learning about Fortune 500 companies, how they operate. You're brought into these big meetings with senior execs. But I think one thing that was like a little bit hard about that is this was my first job and I had nothing to compare it to. So I really absorbed a lot of the messages, like the
Mm-hmm.
standards, the expectations, what's the definition of success, because I didn't really have any other things to compare it to. And then after working in management consulting for around 4 years, I left and I joined Paperless Post. So my manager was she was ex McKinsey and she was looking to create more of a business operations team within Paperless Post. And I will say, Paperless Post was amazing. My favorite job I've ever had, besides my current one.
Yep, yep. Of course.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. It's just an amazing company. The founders are actually a brother and sister.
I didn't know that.
I know they care so much about their
Yeah.
users. So I learned so much about product. I learned about design. I just learned how to operate in a little bit of a different environment. So no longer big corporate, but more of a startup. But what was interesting is it sort of even evolved. In the 5 years I was there, I ended up director of business operations and growth. And it became not as much in the weeds solving user
Mm-hmm.
problems as it was like creating the growth strategy for the next quarter and aligning different teams and different stakeholders around our objectives. So it took me a little while to learn. But at that time, I was just like, I feel like something's missing. This company is great, but I'm not feeling completely fulfilled here, and I don't know why. So after 5 years, I quit my job and I was like, well, maybe I'm gonna be in New Zealand, backpack around for a couple of months and come home. And that was January of 2020. So I'm in New Zealand and I watched the world shut down. And I have this moment where I was like, okay, a lot of people are leaving, they're going back to the US. Do I want to do that? And I was like, why don't I just stick it out and see what happens? So I ended up living in New Zealand for a year and a half, and it was like the best decision I've ever made. I met amazing people. I just made so many friends, just got to explore, travel around the country, and just live a different lifestyle. I was hiking, I was going to the beach. And I think it took me a while to learn this, but I think the biggest shift that happened was that I really took a moment to disconnect work from my identity. So it was just so common in New York. People would ask you,
Yeah.
like when they first meet you, oh, so what do you do? And it's the first thing that I would explain my story, consulting, paperless post.
Yeah.
And
Brand name, high growth, director before age 30. Yep.
Yeah, and in New Zealand, no one even heard of paperless post. They
Yeah.
didn't know what consulting was.
They didn't know what consulting was?
Oh my gosh,
Shocking.
who knew?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was really nice. It was just a time for me to just discover all those other pieces of myself that existed outside of work.
And then I feel like it's not to lead the witness, but to lead the witness a little, it significantly shifted how you thought about your career, but your overall life construct. And actually, I'm curious, what did you do for a year and a half in New Zealand, Kira? Especially
I
as the world was shut down.
It was interesting because there were like a couple of basically through family friends or through some of my friends, her uncle owned English Institute that was entirely in person and now needed to shift all the operations
Mm.
online. So it was more just remotely helping out friends and people I knew to make their operations more virtual. But besides that, I was just having a good time. So, what was crazy about New Zealand is they did a really strict lockdown. So, it was like 6 weeks. You
Yeah.
couldn't leave, you couldn't do anything, you couldn't order food. After that, there were zero cases of COVID in the country. So, I'm going to festivals, I'm gathering with huge groups of people, and then I'm signing on to Zoom and playing board games with my friends in New York.
Maybe you made the right choice
I
while the
know, it's
rest of us
crazy.
were, yeah, stateside hunkering down and
Yeah.
wiping off our vegetables. So, how'd you know when it was time to come back to this state and start your next chapter?
I don't know, it was hard. I just do think it was like a year and a half in, I was missing my friends and family, and I could have stayed in New Zealand, but it's just too far. I
Yeah.
couldn't have both. So I made the hard decision to come back.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because I felt like I was different. But as soon as I came back to New York, I just started doing the same things I'd always done. And so that's how I ended up working for two more high growth startups. And the people I worked with, so incredibly smart and driven and hardworking. And I got a lot out of working with them. But there was also this piece that felt like this isn't the right fit, but I have no idea what the right fit is. So that was the moment where I was like, I think it's time for me to give Sydney a call.
The rest is history.
Yeah, exactly.
There was also this geographic shift in there too, which was deciding to redomicile, if you will, or relocate to Colorado. And how did you make that decision? Because I have clients, and I'm sure there will be women listening to this conversation where, especially I think in our 30s to 40s, for some people, geography is a massive question. For some people, it's pretty straightforward. I live in New York, I'm going to stay in New York. My family lives here, I'm going to live near my family. And for others, geography is as open ended of a decision as career choices, big life choices. And so, how do you figure out that it was Boulder?
Yeah, it was really hard. So I had just had this amazing experience in New Zealand. One of the places I lived in New Zealand is a city called Nelson. It's
Mm,
funny that they even call it a city. It's like a small town, but it just you can walk to the beach, you can ride your bike, you can also go hiking. There's also a river that you can walk near. And then you're driving distance from Abel Tasman, which is one of the great walks in New Zealand. But you still have cafes and bars and
mm,
restaurants. So it was just this incredible place to live. And then I come back and I'm in New York City and I'm like, oof, like, and I still love New York City, but I was just like,
yeah,
this isn't doing it for me anymore. So I had this quiet voice that's being like, hey, maybe it's time to explore another city that's not New York. But I felt like there was loud voices everywhere saying, first of all, you're
yeah,
crazy. No one moves in their 30s to a new city where they don't know anyone. What are you going to
yeah,
say when people are like, oh, so who do you know in Boulder? And you're going to say no one?
yeah,
So it was just this feeling of, okay, I think this is something I want to do, but everyone says you shouldn't be doing this. So I think I just had to take some time to just listen to myself. In the beginning, I didn't have conviction, but it was the same thing with New Zealand. I was really scared and worried about quitting my job and with no plan in New Zealand. And the number of people who are like, oh, so what are you going to do when you get back? What are you going to do when you're there? Like, what
yeah,
do you do for work? How
yeah.
much money are you going to spend?
Like,
Like, how
how
much
does
money do
this
you save?
all line up into this perfectly scripted plan where you know exactly how it all ladders into some magical end
Yeah.
story? Yeah.
And I think that's what I didn't know until New Zealand is that you can make choices and not have the conviction yet because you just don't know.
Yeah. I want to dive a little deeper on that because that's, I feel, the money line of this entire conversation. And women are going to be like, but how? How, Kira? And so, how did you make the decision without the conviction? And what did you need to draw on inwardly or develop, grow into to be able to do that?
Yeah. And I will say the thing is, it builds on each other. So it's like in the beginning, it's really hard to do, especially if you haven't done it. And this is also, as we'll talk about, what happened with my career too, is like I just wasn't used to listening to my own quiet voice that has like
Yeah.
curiosity, that's thinking, ooh, this could be interesting. This could be cool. What would it be like to live in New Zealand? And so I just was like, if that voice isn't very loud, I must not have it. I felt that way
Mm.
about my career too. One of my really good friends from college, she knew from an early age that she wanted to be an environmental engineer. I don't know how a 10-year-old knows that.
And is she still an environmental
Yes,
engineer?
she's now leading a full company. She's just one below the CEO of an environmental engineering
Yeah.
company.
I'm not sure how those people
I
build that
know.
conviction either. Yeah, still a mystery to me.
Yeah, but I would compare myself to her and I would say, okay, she has so much
Mm,
passion about
yeah,
her path and her career. And for me, I don't have that same level of conviction and passion. So I must not be passionate about my career. I just don't have it. I don't have that passion that people
mm,
put out. And I think it took me a while for all of the soul searching that we did together
yeah,
for me to realize that I do have passions and interests and things that I'm curious about. I just haven't been used to listening to that voice. I've just been listening to things that are louder, which is what are your exit opportunities after consulting?
yeah,
That voice was so loud that I was like, I don't even know what it is that I want to do and what I'm interested in.
yeah. And if the question isn't what are the exit opportunities, what is the question? What do I even need to be asking myself?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think what we also don't realize, and I've found in my own personal experience, is even when your voice is soft at the beginning, every time you listen to it is like a little down payment or amplification, and then it gets louder. You listen to it, it gets louder. You listen to it, and then it grows and grows over time.
Oh, I feel that way too. Yeah, sometimes I just try it in little moments too. It's just even pick a Saturday and have no
Yeah.
plans and just go throughout the day being like, what do I feel like doing now?
And that's such a good point because it's really hard to be faced with this massive decision and want to tap into your inner voice and then realize, oh, I don't even use my inner voice to guide me in those micro decisions, like what to do on a Saturday. How am I going to hear it, listen to it, and trust it in this massive decision?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But it is nice that it builds over time.
And how do you feel about it today?
Yeah, it's nice to see that those moments where I was just having to listen to a really quiet voice that's, oh, maybe New Zealand could be cool, or maybe it would be fun to move to Boulder.
Yeah.
And now those are two of the best decisions that I've made. And I'm like, I'm so happy. My whole life has changed moving to Boulder. Now I'm like climbing and hiking and backpacking. And I have a whole new community of people that I hang out with who are like now really dear to me. And then these are all just things I never could have imagined. So it's cool to now be on the other side of that.
And thinking back to when everyone was asking you those questions of, so if you move to New Zealand, what's next? Or how are you going to make it work? If you move to Boulder, what does that mean? And what you have now and what you've created is probably bigger and better and richer than you could have even imagined. You just had to start. You had to get to Boulder, unpack your suitcases, and then allow it to unfold.
Yeah, and that's the problem is you just don't know. So you're making some decisions based on, okay, I think this could be cool, but you don't even know the possibilities that are ahead of you. So it's like you
Yeah.
can't even make a rational decision because I didn't know what it was going to be like.
I think what you're saying has been such a common theme in all of my conversations recently is that we want to believe, and I think there's this predominant human sense that we can make decisions and live our life with a certain degree of certainty. And it doesn't actually exist. We can't really predict anything. And certainty can actually be limiting because our brains, our minds, our imagination only draws on what it's seen and examples, past experiences, examples it can pull in from other people. And so that's limiting. And if we let go of certainty and we give our imagination or let future opportunities run free, it can be so much more potential and expansive and fulfilling than we ever thought too.
I know exactly. And then the problem is at the same time where you need to let go of uncertainty because things can be so much better than you imagine, other people are going to tell you what you should do with certainty.
Yeah, yeah. And somehow they're so certain about you.
Think about like all the parents that want their kid to have a certain job. They're not telling them, oh, maybe it could be cool if you have a job that pays this or does this. They're telling you you must be a lawyer.
Yeah. And if you think about the bell curve, the middle of the bell curve are all of the people who have been a lawyer and reached a certain level of success, however you want to define success. Yeah. Okay. So you moved to Boulder. And I feel like this is where the second act of our story picked up or reignited because you moved to Boulder and you had this rich life building community and still this sense, this nudge of the career, the puzzle piece hasn't locked into place yet. And I'm curious, Kira, just when you sent me that first LinkedIn message, how were you feeling or what were you wrestling with that you really wanted to get clarity to put that puzzle piece into place?
Yeah, I think there was just two things I was really struggling with. The first was trying to figure out the right function or role that would feel right for me. There was a lot of things where I was like almost, but not really. And I was just trying to figure out like what is going to be the thing that like finally clicks for me. And oh, this
Yeah,
does like feels like alignment. And then the second thing is I'd finally found like this great community in Boulder and now I have all these hobbies.
you're right.
So I was like, what am I going to do? And I had just been working for two startups that were just like high growth, high pressure, and I was feeling burned out too. So I was like, how do I find a new role where it feels really aligned for me? And at the same time, I don't have to give up this great life that I've started to create for myself that like now I'm not willing to lose.
Yeah, I remember that being so clear in our first conversation and the mandate of like my life and my career need to coexist moving forward.
Yeah.
So when we started our work together, what so many of my clients come to, which is I'm a generalist, which is I've done a lot. You were raised in the generalist vein through consulting and then strategy and operations and then business operations at Paperless Post and then other strategy roles. And so the spoiler is you now have a function that I think feels pretty good. And so share a little bit about how you got from, okay, I've been in this generalist track to building the conviction of what the function was that was going to be more aligned and fulfilling.
Yeah, so I think this is one of the ways in which consulting held me back a little bit. So, as much as it gave me so many things,
Yeah.
and this was again was like 15 years ago. So, the way that consultants thought about, first of all, customer success didn't really exist too much as a strong function. It was mostly thought about as like customer support. And then
Yep.
people thought about customer support more as like, how do we take out cost from customer support? And how do we automate and create more of a shared service organization so we can reduce headcount? And it wasn't really thought of like a strategic function.
Yep.
And I'm sure a lot of that has changed since then. But I think it just put blinders up a little bit for me to really understand that this could be a function that's like really well aligned. And then we worked together to really talk about what are my strengths, what are my interests. And then slowly it was like something that's been right in front of you the entire time. You just didn't see it. So, and now in my role too, it's just like it brings together all of my skill sets. I work with large enterprises on implementation and then customer success. In consulting, I worked with large enterprises and I did all of that client relationship management. And then
Yep.
when I worked for smaller startups, like this is when I was working really closely with product teams. So now I'm working for a startup, so I understand how product works, how to move really quickly, have everything be broken, but you still just need to figure it out. But I also understand how large enterprises work. And my role is very creative and strategic. I'm working with these enterprises, understanding what their goals are, and then customizing our product and rolling it out with their teams to meet their goals. So it's nice. All of it did really come together. It just took me a while to see it. And I think that kind of goes back to maybe there was like this quiet voice the whole time that was like, this is what I love, this is what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
But I just
Yeah.
didn't pay attention to it because I was like, oh, that's customer support. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, or maybe that's just relationships. And I'm going to
Yeah.
devalue that because that's not strategic. Or I actually like helping people be successful and partner with them through the execution. And that's maybe I'm writing that off too. Yeah. I can't even remember, Kira, but was there an aha moment for you or a specific conversation that helped you see the potential with customer success? I remember we have these conversations around defining your puzzle pieces, around relationships, and really liking to help set people up for success and liking to solve structured problems versus totally unstructured problems. But yeah, what was the light bulb moment?
I don't know if there was an actual light bulb moment, but I
Yeah,
think there was one thing that I needed to get really clear on, and we talked about a lot, which is just strategy versus execution.
yeah.
And I had just been stuck in this sort of strategy operations, just a little bit broader a role. And I feel like what I learned I really love is I said tangible results is one of my
Yeah, yeah,
operating
yes.
principles,
Yep,
which
yep,
is a funny operating principle. But I think it was important for me to include it there because it represented something, and I think that's what was missing.
yeah,
I need the strategy, the client relationship management, but I also just need to feel like something got done every single week. And for some people, something getting done
yep,
means I aligned with this department, and now this department is set up for success in this way. Or maybe it's even managing a full team and you got
yep.
them to be receptive to feedback and to move in a certain direction. But for me, I need to see that something got done on the product side or we launched with a new plan sponsor. I need to see those metrics ticking up every week to feel I have forward momentum with this work.
I think you'd be surprised by how many of my clients share that operating principle. There's something about the satisfaction and the pretty real feedback loop. So, how does it feel today, Carrie? We're almost at your 1 year anniversary in this role.
Yeah, I'm very excited. So I ended up joining a company that, first of all, is headquartered in Boulder, which is very cool. And we just moved offices. So now I'm a 15-minute walk to work.
Oh, amazing. And
Yeah.
also, wait, can we take a slight segue here for you to share how you got this job?
Oh, yeah. I guess I came back from New Zealand, moved to Boulder, and started getting interested in local government. So I ended up joining the advisory board for Parks and Recreation in Boulder. So it's basically a once a month meeting where I meet with the department and there's a public forum component to it. So you're basically hearing updates from the department and asking good questions. Again, it's a volunteer board. So I join and I'm part of the orientation meeting for all members who are joining boards. There's someone sitting next to me, and I just start chatting with them. This was the time where I think every single person I met, I just started talking to them about finding a job. I would meet people on planes and I'd be like, oh, what do you do for work? Just
Yep.
it was just like constantly on my mind. So I ended up chatting with her and I talk about how I've been working remotely, but I would love to one day be working in Boulder. And I told her a little bit about my background in tech. And she was like, oh, I'll connect you with my husband since he is the CEO for a financial tech like AI company based in Boulder. It was wild. It was
Such a good
also
story.
exactly. And I think it was
Yeah.
also a really great experience in just like the fit has to be right on both ends.
Yeah.
So this was a company that was looking for someone exactly like me. It's an asset to them that I have this management consulting experience
Yep.
and I have the startup experience. There was
Yeah.
other companies that were like, "Oh, you don't have 12 years experience in customer success in this new part of healthcare. We're not interested." And in that case, if that's what they're looking for, that's fine.
You might not have enjoyed that role too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's nice to
Yeah.
find a company where it goes both ways. I'm as excited to be there as they are that they were able to hire me.
And just such a great example of just being open, appreciating that there's a certain level of serendipity too. And as long as you do the things that you want to be doing, which is joining this board, and you share what you want to be doing in the future, you're just increasing your surface area for luck, and then people can respond in time too. It's pretty
Exactly.
amazing.
And this is also going to be my PSA for anyone. If you
Yeah.
have any interest at all in local
Yeah.
government, just look up to see your city, maybe your county, just see if there's any active boards. I think you would guess I'm the youngest person on this advisory board, and they're always looking for new people. And I do think that it would be great if we could see more very talented, ambitious women being able to shape policy on the local level. I know it's still local, it's hard to impact some of those broader, huge issues that are facing us as a country, but at least you can get involved on a local level and try to make a difference.
What Kira spurred your passion for this?
I don't know. I do feel a little helpless when it comes to some of the bigger
Mm,
things that I can't control and I do care
yeah.
about. And it's nice to find, maybe going back to tangible results, it's nice to find things that I can control
Yeah. Yeah,
and
totally.
places I can make a
Totally. Yep,
difference.
aligned with that
Yeah,
operating principle.
it's
Yeah.
true.
And I know we talked about too, maybe there's some second act future path where you're also doing something more formally in government too. So what a cool way to just keep that door open.
Yeah, and I think that's also great is just being in it. I've learned so much
Yeah.
more than before when I was like, "Ooh, am I interested in this? Is this a path for me?" Now I'm in it. I see the good and I see the bad. So it's totally changed my perspective.
Well, you can start with this community when you start running for local office. Will be your seed donations. So let's hop back for a second to you've been in role for a year. How does it feel?
It does feel really great. So I ended up joining a company that provides AI solutions to the finance industry. So AI was something we talked about as
Yep.
something I might be interested in
Yep.
exploring. So who knows where all this is going to go, but it has been really fascinating to work for an AI product. It's just been really interesting to learn and understand what's at the cutting edge and then also integrate AI into my day to day too. So I sit right next to our LLM engineer and he gives me tips. He takes a look at my cursor when it's not doing what it should be doing. So that's been really great. And it's still going to be hard with the work-life balance and
Yeah.
managing all of that. I think it's an ongoing problem to solve or just tensions to live with. But I think one of the things that I learned that really helped with that is I used to see it as, okay, I have all the stuff in my life that I love, and work is only going to get in the way of that. And now
Yeah.
I see it as okay, work is also a piece of my life. And it's a piece that also provides a lot of fulfillment and creativity and problems to solve, and
Mm,
also a lot of stress, and also makes me late for things sometimes. But it's all of those things, it's not just one thing.
yeah. Yeah. And that I think is probably the human experience of when we're trying to go for big things or create a big full life. It won't be roses, sunshine, storm clouds, choices, etc., and figure out how to hold it all. Can you talk a little bit more, Kira? Because you're late sometimes, but I do feel like you, from afar, have created a really robust life outside of work, really strong community, making it work with this big job. Tell us a little bit more about how you got this vision, this conviction that my life outside of work is going to be so full, and then how you figured out what the big rocks or anchors were going to be. And then, yeah, if you have any practical tips or suggestions for people on how to, if they want to enrich their personal life, and then how to fit it together with their professional life too.
I think it just happened. And then it was there, and then I had to
Yeah.
maintain it and not give it up.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where it is a priority and it has been one, and not everyone lives their life that way. And it's also just not even that socially acceptable to live your life that way. It's hard. You can't really tell your job that you are leaving early to bring some soup to a friend because they're not feeling well. So it's just one of those things where it's okay, as a culture, we're not going to place that same emphasis on friendships and community.
No one's
Something
making
I
it for you.
it would be nice if it was easy, but it's not. But I know it's something that I care about and that matters so much to me. So I just have to be making those choices all the time when it comes to what's important, what am I going to prioritize over something else. And there are other people who will prioritize their workouts over their friends. Luckily, I'm in Boulder, so it's mostly we're out working out and hanging out
Yeah,
at
I
the
was
same
going to
time.
say, yeah.
But like, I don't know, my
You've
friend,
hacked it, Kira.
that's the hack, truly.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, yesterday I had a workout, a personal training session scheduled. But then my friend was like, hey, do you want to go to this country bar and go line dancing? So then I just canceled my workout class and went and hung out with them. But I don't know. It's just so hard to do. There's just so many things that are big pieces of your life to try to balance and put time into. But I do think that we would all be better off if we just invested more in friendships and community and maybe just tried to normalize that a little bit more, that it's okay to say no to other stuff and to say yes to your friends.
I also think, Kira, that, and I'm maybe generalizing, maybe projecting, but I think there's also this common experience right now, and Ezra Klein talked about it. So if Ezra Klein's talking about it on his podcast, we can talk about it on this podcast. But just in 2026, post pandemic, I think people have a hard time sometimes reaching out or taking the first step towards community. And we could talk for days about isolation. But I think COVID, in my experience, made people retrench into their nuclear families or their very, very small group of friends. So, any pro tips or best practices for people who want to build a bigger community?
Yeah, I would say just start somewhere. It doesn't have to be huge or big, but even just having an idea of, oh, we're going to have a movie night on Friday because Devil Wears Prada 2 is coming out. So let's watch
Yep.
the first one together again.
I love that.
Okay.
So
And like,
timely.
yeah, I don't know. What food are we gonna make? Okay, everyone brings something like this. Just getting it going. Just come up with an idea. It can be anything. It can be burritos on the weekend, or it could be joining a climbing gym and seeing if there's anyone else who wants to be your belay partner. Or it could be getting involved in, it doesn't have to be even for local government. Like you don't have to join a board. There's so many volunteer opportunities. They're
Yep.
looking for people all the time. One of the things I did before I joined the board is there's a native garden where they just need people to help weed the native garden in Chautauqua.
Yeah.
So it's like one of those famous parks in Boulder. So there's so many opportunities to reach out, meet new people, try new things. But I don't think it needs to be overwhelming. Just pick something really small.
And I also find that we're all just so busy that even when we have good intent, it's sometimes hard to just pick up the phone and text. And people are so appreciative of the person who's going to initiate the plan or build the community that they can partake in.
Yeah, and a lot of the times, especially in New York, it was all about catching up. Like just pick one
Yeah.
friend and then tell them about your life over the last month. And so maybe instead of doing that catch up, like how can you make it like a little bit more of a
Mm,
community? So it's okay, instead of just like this one person, maybe it's like
yeah.
three people. And then instead of just catching up, like maybe there's some other theme or there's something else that we're going to do together, or we're all going to try, I don't know, embroidery or,
Oh,
like
I love
we're going to
this.
have a craft night and just to
Yeah.
try something new together.
How can we jazz it up a little?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. I'm sure some science around shared experiences too, building community. But Kira, you've given us so many words of wisdom and inspiration. We've expanded everyone who's listening to this, their perspective. You have the mic to talk to the 10,000 women who are going to get access to this podcast. What final words of wisdom or message do you want to leave them with?
I'm just excited to see people take slightly different paths and to see what the result ends up being. And you don't have to take a huge risk right away. It's just listening to a very quiet voice that's saying, oh, this is something I might be curious about. And then just taking that and exploring it and seeing where it leads you. But there's going to be loud voices everywhere telling you what you should do. So it's just so hard to listen to a very quiet voice that doesn't have a lot of conviction yet, that's telling you maybe you just want to do something that's slightly outside of the norm, slightly different than what everyone else is doing. But I'm just so excited if people did listen to that voice more, like I'm just excited to see where that would all lead.
I know what a movement of people listening to their inner voices and making choices and designing lives that feel really good to them. So couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you so much, Kyra.
Thank you so much too. It's so great to talk with you, Sydney. I always feel better when I do.